All right, so the reason I'm doing this video is there's a lot of things about the final expense industry that are hidden in plain sight that your MLM that's recruiting you will not tell you about. So I want to take a few moments here to talk about the 10 things that MLM agencies will not let you know about the truth behind selling final expense. The purpose of this video is just to educate and inform you about the realities of the final expense business. I've been doing the final expense business since 2011. I've recruited agents since through 2013. I have an intimate firsthand knowledge in training agents and selling myself in the final expense business. And you need to know the facts before you jump into this business because it's not all rainbows and sunshine. There's always some soft underbelly that you don't know about in this business. And my purpose here is to tell you exactly what that is. So let's jump right in. Number one, all leads are not equal. There are people in this business, leaders they would be called, that suggest all leads are the same or they don't care what kind of leads they're working. Just give me a name in the phone book. It's as good as any other lead. The likelihood that that belief actually stretches across all agents of all skill set is hogwash. All leads are not the same. A name in the phone book is completely different than a name that somebody filled out on a direct mail card, sent back, and walked it to the mailbox, could have threw it away the whole time, and you calling on that person is a completely different experience. So first things first, leads do matter. The quality of the leads and type of leads do matter. In final expense, direct mail is king for face-to-face, and for over the phone, typically it's a good quality telesales lead that's developed on Facebook. Both of these leads have something in common. They need to be fresh and exclusive. If your leads aren't fresh and if they're not exclusive, they're resold multiple times or they're old, not fresh, you're going to run into a lot more problems. There are big MLMs in this space of recruiting in the final expense that buy data. They're not really leads, but they call them leads, resell them at a ridiculously high expense to a multitude of agents in their agency, and profit in the tunes of millions a month just on the sale of junk. You don't want to be caught up in that. So understand, leads matter. Do your due diligence. Watch my videos. We talk extensively about quality final expense leads, whether you want to sell over the phone or face-to-face. And don't fall into the pitfall of believing that all leads are the same. They're not. And if you believe that, it's a great way to exit this business prematurely. Number two, in the final expense business, pricing does matter. Yes, what you are charged, or at least your clients are charged, absolutely matters. Just because something is higher priced means that you run a potential to be replaced or to be declined by the client in the sense of it's too expensive, I don't want it. This is why in the final expense space, it's very dangerous to work in a one company scenario, maybe a captive situation where you push product, not sell what's in the best interest of the client. And yeah, there are certainly going to be agents successful in that, but every time you push a product that's higher than the average cost or higher than the competitive cost of other like-kind products, you run into the risk of someone like myself or my competition coming behind you in the next 90 days, finding that policy and doing a simple replacement that gives the client better value for the price they pay. And it's just business. It's nothing personal, as you'll discover. But the outcome of that is you lose business, you lose money, and you get chargebacks. More on that problem in a minute. And you find yourself swirling the bowl to be flushed out of the business. So what's the solution? Make sure in the final expense business you're a broker, not what we call a captive agency. Have a multitude of carriers that are competitively priced to the market, not the higher priced crap that gets replaced easily or declined and clients aren't interested because it's too expensive. That is the easiest and simplest solution to solving for the problem of your clients, who are all on a fixed income after all, being price sensitive. Number three on the list here is your prospects in a final expense are tough. They're tough. You're not talking to, the proverbial meme of the grandma and the grandpa sitting around the couch with their sweaters on, feet up on the, pedestal and smiling and grinning and just can't wait to talk to you over the phone or in person. This is sales. It is a contact sport. In other words, you're going to be dealing with people that don't want you around. They're going to be frustrated by your appearance. They're going to have questions and push back and object. And a lot of our clients live in squalor. They're low-income people, okay? So they're not going to be rich. They're not going to be wealthy. You're going to be in places that you may be a little surprised by. Part of that can be mitigated by selling over the phone. But understand that this is the nature of our clients. We're dealing with the millions of people out there who are lower income that don't have a lot of money. And you got to be ready, willing, and able to understand where they come from, who they are, and be able to address their concerns despite their circumstances in life. Number 4 here, selling one product is usually a bad idea. Very much goes back to what we were talking about with price. When you sell one product, you're not really looking out for the client's welfare, I would argue. Sure, one product is better than no product, and if you're in that position, do what the best you can. But for me, I like to be an independent agent. I don't want to rely on one company to sell my products. I want to have multitudes of products to access so I can give my client as best as possible the best combination of price and coverage. I sell more because of it, because I'm competitively priced. I replace more inferior policies because I can help my client maximize what they can afford, many of which are on a fixed income. And I increase persistency because it's harder to replace an existing policy that's competitively priced, as opposed to when you have one product that you push that tends to be either the wrong option for coverage. Maybe the client has COPD and the coverage only covers after the first 2 years, or you're in a position where it's just too expensive. Again, being a broker, independent, with multiple carriers is the best way to just across the board improve your business metrics, even if your salesmanship doesn't change as well. Number 5, compensation is commonly misrepresented. How many times have you heard, we pay the highest commission? We have commission levels up to 145, 150% commission. And you're at the XYZ 100 commission level. The insinuation you get is there's a lot of commission to be made in this business, and that these MLMs, as many times as they are pushing these notions of high commission. What they don't tell you is a couple of things. Number 1, to get to the high levels that are mentioned previously, you got to be writing millions of dollars a month in agency building. So you can't really get there through selling. You're going to have to go down the agency building route, which is fraught with disaster, as we'll talk about in a little while at the very end. If you're brought in and you're brought in at the XYZ 100 level, you think all your carriers pay that, but they don't. It's only like 1 or 2 carriers, which tend to be the products that are pushed, that are higher priced, that are easily replaced by the competition. Whereas the rest of the better carriers that are better for your client, and really I think easier for you to sell, pay 20 to 40% less. My take on this business, guys, if you're involved with an agency that misrepresents what you're going to get paid, they're starting the business with a lie, the relationship with a lie. Do you want to work with a business that lies to you from the beginning, much less at any point? So that's my contention with that. Compensation should be clearly expressed. It shouldn't be window dressed as it is so many times. And there's always more issues and details behind the scenes. That's why we show our commissions at davidduford.com/commissions. We make it completely obvious to what the agent's going to be paid on what basis, down to the penny and the percentage points. And it's very important to make that distinction because your livelihood depends on it. If you're not told the full story on compensation, as is with many of these MLMs, you're bound to run into some serious problems. Number 6, chargebacks. So let's talk about chargebacks. What are chargebacks? Nobody talks about chargebacks because honestly, it would deter a lot of you from being in the business. But a lot of these MLMs, they want to tell you as little as possible and just basically flex with all their money and power they have and get you hot and bothered by that versus actually telling you the truth. Whereas what chargebacks do, let's talk about that. Chargebacks are essentially what happens when you write a policy, the client pays on it or doesn't, your advanced commission, which is a loan, and the client cancels because they don't want it or they're pressured or they found a better deal with somebody like me in an independent situation. And what happens from that standpoint is that now the money you made, which really wasn't your money, it was a loan, is now due back in full to the basis of how many payments were made in. So if you got 9 months of your 12 months commission, a 75% advance, Mildred pays 3 months, you in most cases owe back only 6 months. You can either cut a check for that or write more business to cover that. The reality is that chargebacks suck. It is a part of the business that you need to learn how to minimize. If your upline or person bringing you in hasn't talked about chargebacks, they're doing you a disservice. I didn't know about chargebacks till I got my first one. And I was like, well, that's terrible. The guy paid 3 months. Now I got to owe the money back. Well, I thought I should earn this. Well, you don't. That is called a loan with the policy being collateral. So real quick, well, how can you be successful with chargebacks? A couple of things. Number 1, don't sell just one product, sell a multitude so you can conserve as best as possible the policy right because it's competitively priced. The underwriter is competitive as well, and it is very hard to replace. And then second of all, don't sell like a jerk. Sell with an advisor's approach. Try to help the client, help them see the need, plead with them, don't pressure them, and make sure what they buy they actually believe in so that they'll be happy to pay the premium. So there's a sales strategy you need to embody in your presentation and not be a high pressure salesperson, because that's what causes a lot of chargebacks too. People just buy to get rid of you. Number 7, you are the prospect. Now you might be thinking, well, okay, well, how do you make money in the insurance sales business? Well, first of all, you sell a policy, right? You make a commission off that. That all is kind of squared away. And the way we as the agency owners out there make money is we make an amount above what you make called an override. And the appeal to agency building is recruiting a lot of agents and then having that process duplicated, not just with yourself as an agent, but with many other agents as well. So, and that's a great business. I love it. I make good money. But what a lot of these MLMs have realized is there's another opportunity to make even more money, even if you don't make a sale. And that's turning you into the mark. And what I mean by that is a lot of these agencies out there have different strategies in place to basically cause you to be monetizable. For example, there are agencies that charge you for training. Whether you sell a thing or not, you're going to be charged up front for training. Or there's subscription fees or desk fees. These are just made up terms that just give a reason to take your money. The most preposterous thing I think is out there is a supersize upcharge on top of what we would call leads. There are big MLMs out there. What they do is they buy data at pennies on the dollar, then resell them to $8 to $10 a piece to not just you, one agent, but to multitudes of agents. And there's this huge, incredible, for pennies, they make tons of dollars, and they do it thousands of times a day, which results to tremendous amounts of profit, millions, in fact, every single month. And you're none the wiser. You go into the business, you're making the carrier money, all without you having to be successful. What's the problem with all this, Dave? Hey, we live in a capitalist society. Businesses can make money they can. Sure, that's fine. I get it. But my issue with it is that an alignment of the agency with your goals? My agency, my alignment with my agents is the same, because I only make money when they do. I don't make money selling leads. I don't make money on training, because I think that is a misalignment. I'm doing a disservice to my people. But every time an agency charges you money in these ways, they win even if you don't. So they're not going to have the same level of alignment from a goal perspective as another agency that doesn't do this. So think about that. If you join an agency where they win and you don't, is that really the kind of relationship that you want? I would propose it isn't. Number 8, MLM culture reigns supreme. I've mentioned that a couple of times. The basis of insurance sales in its modern day form is based off of the MLM culture that is so predominant in many other industries. In fact, there's a very well-known MLM that started in the 2000s. This gentleman came from Amway, took the same culture, the same kind of approach to the business, and morphed it into the insurance business. Really, it was started back in the 80s prior to that with another big name company. And from there, what we see with the major MLMs that are out there, they actually spawned from this one MLM in the 2000s that basically broke away, started their own agencies, and really followed the same format. Look, a few things changed. But doing this kind of multiplicity, duplication MLM process where the culture is not about skill set development. It's about flossing your stuff. Conspicuous consumerism, Ferraris, caches, boat, plate, you name it. Plate, did I say plate? I mean plane. You get what I'm saying. They show you a lot of crap that doesn't necessarily equate to the skills that you need to pay the bills, right? How to sell these stuff, how to sell stuff, how to make money, how to run a system, etc. This is the culture that 80% plus of the business is exposed to. And what the whole purpose of this is to mass recruit everybody into the business, where what is more important than selling is actually convincing you to recruit anybody with a pulse that you know in your social media channels and networks. There's one particular owner of one of these organizations who says you should be ashamed of yourself and embarrassed that you're holding back on this opportunity and not recruiting people. Well, I think that's preposterous. You have no business, in my opinion, recruiting anybody if you don't know anything. I don't want a surgeon, quote unquote, that teaches me how to do surgery who's never actually cut a belly open and done an operation. I mean, why would you want to learn from somebody who has no street experience? That's stupid. And why is this any different in the insurance space? This is part of the reason why the failure rate in this business is 90% plus. So be careful of the MLM. How do you know how to stay away from it? Just look for agencies that care about skill development, that talk about selling, not recruiting, that actually have a system to train you in a well-developed training program like what we do, and many others too as well. That is what's going to make the big difference. Number 9, final expense is not a residual-based product. Again, one of the things you'll hear from a lot of these MLMs is that if you want to build a residual income, you have to also recruit and build a team. More on that problem here momentarily. But some of them say, you know, even that you get these great residuals from final expense. It's not a residual-based business. If you look at the percentage on residuals, which is 3 to 8%, and the average case size, we're talking a couple of dollars a month. If you have 1,000 clients in place, $3,000 to $4,000 is not a great retirement plan, because a lot of these commissions cut off over time. People are going to die, they're going to lapse, etc. It's just not something that's dependable. Well, what is? Some of you know the insurance business is a residual-based income opportunity. I would say Medicare. That's why we at DeFord Insurance Group help our agents, especially on an intermediate basis, get into Medicare, because that creates honest, long-term, lifetime residual streams of income. And that's where you want to go eventually as an agent if you're interested in passive income. Final expense is great, but you got to work to get it. With Medicare, you don't have to work as often or as frequently after you've paid the price for a couple of years building a book of business and still get paid. Last but not least, very important, this speaks more to the agency building side. You guys don't know this, but I want you to. And this is the one thing that makes all the difference if you want to get an agency building, is that when you build, you co-sign debt for your downline recruits. I was talking to a friend in the business just a moment ago, Kyle Studer, and he was telling me the MLM he was a part of, basically the guy at the top of the line says, I only have 4 people direct to me, and they run an enormous organization. And the reason that he does it this way is because it shields him from upline debt. You see, when you are recruiting agents and they don't pay their debt, you are now responsible for it, because in the contract, you agreed to pay for it, even if you're unaware of it. So it's like you're signing a bunch of car loans for a bunch of teenagers, and if they don't pay it, it's on you. And the issue with this is why you don't hear about this is because at the top of the food chain, they don't care, because they're like 10 people above you, and that all those 10 people below them have to absorb the chargebacks before they do. They continue to profit at the same rate. All of this is to say is that this is a huge risk that you got to be aware of. If you're recruiting and you recruit one guy that leaves you with $10,000, $20,000 debt, and that's small stuff compared to stuff that's out there that I've experienced and have seen others experience, you're out of the business if you don't have savings, if you haven't planned for this, or you've done a good job. And this enrages a lot of people who are good agents, start to recruit and been sold this bill of goods about it, and don't realize what's at stake if a bad agent comes into the mix. How do you handle that? Well, you build residual income other than agency building, maybe through Medicare, like I said. You put in some important practices to monitor and manage and audit the agents that come in, make sure they put in good business to reduce fraud issues that definitely happen if you're not looking closely enough. And, minimize the impact of that debt. But it is real. And if you're going to agency build, at some point, you're going to absorb some kind of chargebacks. It is part of the business. So guys, that's my 10 things to be worried about. Hopefully I didn't totally dismantle your enthusiasm for being in the business. But if you're like me, you like to know the good, bad, and ugly, and you'd rather have all the facts up front before you make an important decision. And this is your career. I mean, man, it's like everything. And if you're going to do this business, you might as well know everything first, right, before you jump in, as much as possible. Because you may make a wrong mistake and lose out on the opportunity to build a career otherwise, or make money in something you know or had an opportunity to, just because you chased a dream that really wasn't for you. If you're still interested in selling final expense and you want to stay away from a lot of this nonsense that's out there, check out what I do at DeFord Insurance Group, daviddeford.com/FAQ. You can learn more about our business and see if we're a good fit. We're looking for entrepreneurial agents that are okay investing their own money into leads and have self-sufficiency and self-discipline without the micromanagement, the babysitting, and definitely no MLM Kool-Aid drinking. So if you want to learn more, daviddeford.com/FAQ, and thanks for watching. See you.